Hello, welcome to Free Advice Friday. Looking forward to spending some time with you guys again today on a Friday afternoon, answering all of your voiceover business and marketing questions as we do on Friday afternoons, which is always fun. So thank you for joining me and looking forward to hearing what questions you have to ask and what I can answer for you today. So I just finished doing a Q&A session for the fine folks over at VA for VO. And it was a private Q&A for the VAs who are a part of VA for VO. But we talked about something in that Q&A session. And I thought, that would make for a really interesting way to start off Free Advice Friday. There's some good advice in there to start off Free Advice Friday. So that's what I want to do today. There was a post that Bridget shared on LinkedIn. It was probably about a week ago, maybe 2 weeks ago. And chances are, if you are on LinkedIn, you probably saw it because it blew up in the voiceover community. She had reposted something that was shared by a video producer who is in her feed, somebody that she's connected with. And his post started out, "Cold emails suck." And then he went on to write a post explaining why he felt like cold emails sucked. And he shared a screenshot of the cold email that he received. And it was from a voice actor. And he was going on to say about how, every week he gets hundreds of these things from voice actors. And, for him, cold emails suck. And so I had actually sent Bridget a message a couple days after she posted that to let her know that I wish that she hadn't done it. I was teasing her, of course, but because I said I had a whole bunch of voice actors reach out to me and send me that post as a reason why they should no longer be doing cold email marketing. And because, as if voice actors need another excuse to not do cold email marketing, voice actors always have plenty of excuses for why they don't want to do cold email marketing. But anyway, I wanted to address that. And I did address it to a degree in the comments. And the point that I had made in the comments was templated emails do suck. Generic emails do suck. Boring AI-generated emails absolutely do suck. But that does not mean that cold email on the whole sucks. I don't think. Now, for this particular individual, his point was he would rather that you're on LinkedIn. That's what he uses. He thinks that you're better off being on LinkedIn, posting content, showing up regularly, being in front of him, staying top of mind. And that's totally valid. I am fully on board with that strategy. And that's one of the reasons why I use LinkedIn on an ongoing basis. But I don't think that specifically means that cold emails suck. I think that there are certain ways that voice actors do cold emailing that makes them suck. And that's where I come back to generic messages, boring messages, AI-generated messages, templated messages. I think those types of cold emails do suck. So if email marketing is going to be part of your strategy for finding voiceover work, which I believe it is still a fully legitimate and valid strategy for finding voiceover work, it's still one of the top ways. Email marketing and LinkedIn are really the two places that I still pursue all of my voiceover work. I think it's really about the how you do cold email marketing. I don't think that cold email marketing on the whole sucks. I think how we do it sometimes sucks. Which brings me back to a point that I have driven home for as many years as I have been doing coaching, which is to make it personal. Put in the effort. Take a couple of minutes to get to know that person or get to know that company, to get to know the type of work that they're doing, to understand where you could add value or how you could add value to them, and make the email personal. My measuring stick for cold introductory email marketing is this. If I can copy and paste the email and send it unedited to 10 other people, then it's a bad email. And I have not tried hard enough, and I have not personalized it enough. A well-written introductory email should only be able to be sent to one person, the intended recipient. That's it. You should not be able to copy and paste it and pass it off to anybody else on your list. Now, are there certain parts of your cold email that may be templated? Yes, absolutely. And I think that's okay. But there needs to be an element of personalization in your email to make it work. So that's the first point that I wanted to make on it. The second point, which is something that I've been talking about a lot lately, if our value proposition in voiceover is being human, and we want people to hire human voice actors instead of using AI for voiceover, our marketing better be human. Now, I do not think that that means that you cannot use AI tools to assist you. But I don't think that you should be using AI tools to do the marketing for you. I think you should still be writing your own emails. I think you should still be writing your own social media posts. I think they need to be in your voice, your words, your language, your style, your personality. That's what makes them human. That's what makes you you. That's how you present authenticity in your marketing. Present authenticity in your marketing so that you have the opportunity to be authentic in your voiceover. So while I don't fully agree with everything that this particular individual said in his post on LinkedIn, I do agree with the premise of a lot of it. I think that you've got to put more effort in, because if you're just sending boring, generic, templated emails, I think that does suck. I think there is absolutely value in being present on social media. And that doesn't mean all social media. Pick your platform. But I think there's absolutely value in being present on social media, showing up a few times a week to drop a post, leave some comments, do some engaging, send some connection requests, whatever. And I think that there's absolutely value in the follow-up, which is part of what he was saying in his post, although he wasn't specifically talking about follow-up in the email marketing sense, but just follow-up in general. And I totally agree with him. I agree that it's important to stay in front of people. It's important to stay top of mind. So that's what I wanted to say about that. Do I think that email marketing sucks? No. Do I think that cold email marketing sucks? I think that done in the wrong way, it can suck. Yes. But I think that done in the correct way, there is still plenty of value in doing cold email marketing. And I think there is also a case to be made for success being in the follow-up. I want to share one other one since we're talking about it. I think this goes along with it. Christopher Witten, he's a senior producer or senior production manager for Red Bull Media. And this was a post that he shared it a week ago, but it just popped up in my feed about an hour and a half ago. But he said, here's what I've learned after 20 years in creative production. The ones who get the gig aren't always the best. They're the ones who are remembered. Clients don't always choose based on quality. They choose based on timing, familiarity, and trust. If your name isn't in the mix when a decision is made, you don't get the shot. I agree wholeheartedly. What he is saying right here is why I teach and preach that success is in the follow-up. And this is the comment that I left on it just a little bit ago. My career has been built on being the guy who was top of mind, much more so than being the greatest voice actor who ever lived, on account of I'm not. Get yourself front and center. Stay top of mind with people. Show up every day and do the thing. What is your question that you would like to ask and get answered for Free Advice Friday? Because that is what I am here for. So if you do have a question that you would like to ask and get answered, by all means, please feel free to type it into the comments. Put a little Q beside it before you type your question. That makes it stand out a little bit easier for me in the chat. Welcome, Robert, Tony, Patricia, Jim. Thanks, everybody, for coming and joining in on the live stream. What can I answer for you? What questions do you have on Free Advice Friday. Don't be shy. You know, talking about social media, I wanted to share something with you that I thought was interesting. I've been doing these Docushorts. Some of you have been following along with the Docushorts that I've been sharing, and I've talked about it a few different times now. And I'm posting those Docushorts. I have a posting strategy that I'm following, where I share them on YouTube first, and then I stagger them out by a week. A week later, I'll share it on LinkedIn. A week later, I'll share it on Instagram. So that same post is getting shared across 3 different platforms, or that same video rather is getting shared across 3 different platforms, but it's getting spread out over the span of, 3 weeks or a month. So I'm not just blitzing it everywhere simultaneously. And something that has been really interesting to me, I shared a particular video on YouTube, because that's where I've been posting them first. And it was this video. It was the puppy video that I shared on YouTube. So, interesting note here. I posted this video on LinkedIn 3 hours ago. In 3 hours on LinkedIn, this video has already got more views than what it has gotten in, I think it's been on YouTube for 3 weeks now. So think about that. More views on LinkedIn in 3 hours than it has got in 3 weeks on YouTube. So that makes a case for maybe using more than one form of social media as part of your strategy as well. Now, I could point to examples where I've had far more views on YouTube than I have on LinkedIn, but it's just interesting to see. You never know what video is going to land with what audience on what platform, which is why I think that there's a valid use case for being in more than one place if you have the means and the ability to be in more than one place. All right, let's see. Pamela says, hello from sunny and hot Nevada. So last night we went to the Booze soccer game, and we were sitting outside and we were all freezing, and we all wanted our jackets because we were all freezing. Today, it is the hottest day of the year so far in Southern Ontario. I think by the time the temperature is finished climbing, we will probably be in the mid 80s. So last night, it almost felt like it was going to snow. Today, mid 80s. Crazy. All right, Patricia, what is the ideal social media platform for voice actors, or does it depend? Yes, it depends. So here's a couple of things that I would say to take into consideration. 1, where is my audience of buyers? I think that in some instances, different audiences hang out in different places. So there is a very thriving character space on X, animation, gaming, etc. Very thriving character space on X. There is a very thriving gaming community that exists on places like Discord. I think you can find just about any person that you want on LinkedIn. So there's a case to be made for that. I think that commercial and video production, there are very thriving communities on Instagram. Obviously, it's a visual medium, so that makes sense. So the first thing I would be thinking about is, where are my buyers hanging out? Second thing I would be thinking about is, what medium do I want to participate in? So what I mean by that is, do you want to use images? Do you want to use video? Do you want to use text? Do you want to use short text or long form text? All of these things can make a difference, right? So what medium would you like to use? And then again, there's platforms like LinkedIn where you could do a mix of all of those mediums. And then I think the third thing is, where am I actually going to hang out? Because I could tell you right now, the absolute best platform where every voice actor should be is TikTok. But if you have no interest whatsoever in TikTok and no interest in creating video for TikTok, guess what? TikTok is not going to be the best platform for you by any stretch of the imagination. So you choose the one you use. I'm having a lot of fun creating these Docushorts. So starting a YouTube channel for those made a lot of sense for me. being able to put them up on my Instagram account, that's easy. It's just reusing that same content. I love sharing them on LinkedIn, and I'm getting a lot of engagement and interaction on those videos on LinkedIn. By the way, go to my LinkedIn profile right now and drop a comment on my latest video. It's right here. Like I said, I posted it 3 hours ago. I mean, come on, guys, it's puppies. Who doesn't love puppies? Unless you're some kind of sociopath, who doesn't love puppies? So go drop a comment on this one. But I love LinkedIn. I love all the different type of content. I love all the different types of people that I can get created with. I love the different types of content that I can share. I can share a video post like this, but I can just as easily share a long form text post and get a ton of engagement on that as well. So I think partly it just comes down to choosing the one that you are most likely to use. What is the platform that you are going to show up on a consistent basis? That's the one that you need to be digging into. I think that's the one that you need to be digging into. The LinkedIn algorithm is really refining and focusing on content versus just text posts. Actually, I think there's truth to that. And the other thing that I've been reading a lot about, Pamela, and I've seen evidence of for myself too, is educational content. And that doesn't specifically mean that you need to be a teacher or a coach, but sharing content where maybe it's something that you've learned. So maybe it's not just that you're teaching somebody, but maybe it's something that somebody taught you. That type of content, the algorithm seems to be favoring that. And if I look back through my last few weeks of posts, some of the posts that focus on that have definitely had a much higher level of reach. And so I think that's something that's going on with LinkedIn right now as well. Paul says, can you recommend a resource, web or book, to guide me in recording an audiobook demo reel? Off the top of my head, no, I can't, because I mean, I will be the first to say that I don't think that most of us, and I don't know your specific situation, Paul, but most of us should not be recording and producing our own voiceover demos. Even if you are proficient in editing, most of us shouldn't be recording and producing our own voiceover demos, only in that there is so much more nuance to it than just being able to record, just being able to get a nice clean sound, just being able to produce a nice clean edit. There's so much more nuance to that, or than that. And I think that's why there are people who produce demos in different genres and specialize in different genres. So I don't know of anybody specific or anywhere specific where you could go to learn something like that. Not anywhere that I would trust anyway. And that doesn't mean there's not good resources out there. I just personally, I don't know of any that you could go to that you could trust at this point. How do you approach content planning? Are you weeks, months out, or more spur of the moment? I have a strong desire to be weeks and months ahead. I have a strong likelihood to be in the moment. That's my diplomatic answer to that. Certain things I do have planned out. My podcast, the summer series episodes, I've almost got the entire summer series episode right through till the end of August. At this point now, I'm just about there. I got about 3 episodes left, I think, and then I will have the entire podcast summer series done. So I am ahead of the game on that one. The Docushorts that I'm creating, I usually try to be at least a week ahead. I'm trying to get a little bit further ahead, but I do try to be at least a week ahead. I have notes that I keep for ideas that I have for social media that I can always tap into. So a lot of what I am doing on social media is happening in the moment, but when there's nothing going on in the moment that I feel like I can talk about, I have notes that I can refer back to for ideas, which has been helpful as well. I know people who batch process content, and I envy those people. If I had more time, I probably would sit down and batch process my content or batch out my ideas, but I don't always have the time to pull that off. I would say too, though, if your plan is to batch out ahead, which is a great plan, just to be clear, also give yourself the flexibility to be able to post in the moment, because sometimes there's great ideas that just pop into your head out of nowhere. Sometimes there are situations or things that are going on that you want to be able to leave a comment on, or you want to be able to speak to. Prime example is this post that popped up about cold emails sucking, right? I want to be able to fit something about that into my schedule. So if I was sticking hardcore to a posting schedule, I might miss out on an opportunity like that and miss out on something that's timely. And so while I think there's value in being planned ahead, I also think that there is value in giving yourself the ability to speak in the moment. Last week, 2 podcasts I was interviewed, mostly wearing my producer hat, but some on VO dropped. How can I best repurpose and repost those in full, broken into sections? Yes. Yes, the answer is yes. Yes, you can repurpose them. You can share them in full. Yes, I think you could absolutely grab clips from them with the permission from the podcast producer. And I think that those clips could be in the form of short form video, so you could post them as reels. But I also think that if you had some really great lines or some really great insights, I think that you can repurpose those into text. And I think you could write posts about those, use an image, a screen grab, something like that. So I do think that there's a lot of ways that you can repurpose. In fact, repurposing the podcast, my podcast, and repurposing this live stream, that's where a lot of my content strategy comes from. I mean, I'm literally sitting here for an hour on a Friday afternoon answering questions about voiceover and business and marketing. I would be crazy to let this just sit and this be where the content dies. Once the live stream's over, that's it. It's gone. So Free Advice Friday gets repurposed into short form video, reels, YouTube shorts that get posted on different platforms. Free Advice Friday gets repurposed by taking the concepts and the questions that were asked and turning those into text posts for LinkedIn or for the Facebook group. They get turned into threads that get shared on Threads or on X. And so a big part of what I'm doing is repurposing the content that I'm already creating so that I can get the most mileage out of it possible. Britt says, when making example clips for social media posts, do you think people are most successful with video of themselves using character art or something just like an equalizer for motion and attention? I'm just thinking about, does it really matter? I have done a lot of video clips from my demos using headliner.app. And that's just got, the bouncing wave file across the bottom. Created a nice little visual to go with it, bouncing wave file across the bottom. And I've used that as a way of sharing demo clips. And I've found that to be effective. I have created some short video clips using Canva. Same thing, not a whole lot going on, just using some of the stuff that's in Canva. I have found that to be effective. But then, the video that I was showing you earlier, these videos that I'm doing, these Docushorts, I am putting myself on camera. And this is an intentional decision. I want people to know that this is a human narrating. I want them to see me in the booth and make that connection. I'm using this as a marketing tool for my voiceover business. I want them to see me as the narrator in the booth narrating this clip. And so I think part of it is just deciding what your objective is for that content, and that can help you to choose what the best form of sharing that content is. By the way, did I mention that you need to go over to LinkedIn, check out my puppy video? Oh, you also need to go to my YouTube channel and make sure that you watch all the videos on my YouTube channel, because that would be really helpful as well. And not the VOpreneur channel. You're on the VOpreneur channel right now. But actually, if you go over to, I have a separate channel, which is my Marc Scott VO channel. And it's just at Marc Scott VO. You can see here, view your channel. And this is where I'm posting all these different shorts that I'm creating. So you should go and definitely watch all of those videos and help me to get some extra views on some of those videos. So make sure you go check out that channel. Actually, you know what? Here, let me do this. I'm cheating right now. I'm going to put this in the chat. There you go. Go check that out. All right, let's see. What else did I miss? Pamela says, agreed, educational content and having a strong POV on a topic or idea. Basically, authentically created content using generative AI. 100%. 100%. The algorithms are going to start to figure this out, guys. They're going to start to figure out if you're posting a bunch of AI stuff. And it's not going to work the same way. It's not going to land. Just to co-sign on an earlier point, I've been really digging the educational content on LinkedIn as a user. It's constantly what I interact with the most. And I think that's a product of the environment too, right? We went through a stretch where LinkedIn, okay, pandemic happens, the whole world is at home, and half of the whole world is looking for a new job. As somebody who had been on LinkedIn for a long time, I noticed that during some of the pandemic lockdowns, there was more action on LinkedIn than there had ever been at any other point. It was exploding. The amount of people on there, the amount of content that was being shared, like LinkedIn became a very, very popular place during the pandemic. It was between sourdough bread and LinkedIn. I think that's what everybody was doing. And we went through a stretch later on in the pandemic where LinkedIn users, some of them, started turning LinkedIn into Facebook. And I was getting really scared because I don't need another Facebook. I don't want another Facebook. I want LinkedIn to be what it is. I want LinkedIn to stay a professional network, a professional platform, professionals connecting with other professionals for professional purposes. I don't need to see all your personal content on LinkedIn. That's what Facebook is for. That's what Instagram is for. Go do that over there. Let's keep LinkedIn something special. And it started to lose its way for a little while. And I think that's part of the reason why LinkedIn is making some adjustments with the algorithms. I did there's a video, actually one of the live streams on this channel from a few weeks ago. You can go back and watch it. Let me see if I can find it. Hang on. It was from April 11th. And what LinkedIn's algorithm changes mean for voice actors in 2025. I'll put this in here. And selfies are out. Selfies are out was one of the things. And that's because LinkedIn is trying to keep the platform as a professional platform. And I greatly, greatly appreciate that they are doing that. And focusing on that educational content, I think is really important. And I think it is content that people enjoy. So absolutely. Let's keep it that way. Again, if you've got a question that you would like to ask for Free Advice Friday, if you could just put it into the comments, just put a Q beside it. It makes it pop out on my screen. It's a little bit easier for me to find. I appreciate it. And I'm here to answer as many questions as I can. Where is the Docushorts YouTube channel? I'll happily subscribe to that. I did put the link in the chat for that one. It's youtube.com/ at that little squiggly at Marc Scott VO is the channel for that. Robert says, are you recutting all your content yourself or using a service or a site? I'm doing all my, you're talking about repurposing my content. Riverside, which is what I record my podcast in, Riverside actually does give me the ability to create, they call it magic clips, and it will create short form video content for me in vertical format. And then I can just kind of tweak it a little bit if I need to. So I'm using Riverside for a lot of that. I am also using ChatGPT. I will take the transcript from Free Advice Friday and put it into a custom GPT that I've built. And then it will help me to repurpose out some of the stuff that was talked about on Free Advice Friday, repurpose it out into some other different types of posts that I can use. What is your script writing strategy? For the Docushorts, Tony, I am using ChatGPT for that. And we work together, Jarvis, I call it Jarvis. So we work together on that. I gave it some very specific prompting to get started. I put a lot of thought, a lot of time, a lot of effort into the prompting for it. And then it gives me the drafts, and then we kind of go from there. I like to try to double check some of the content, make sure it's not hallucinating any of the content and things of that nature. But right now I'm working with ChatGPT on that, with Jarvis. Amen. LinkedIn, professional content only. Amen. There you go. Professional content only with the occasional puppy video. Come on. Who doesn't love puppies? Right? Who doesn't love puppies? I'm just going to keep going back to that video. If I'm being honest, LinkedIn is one of my favorites because of the focus on professional networking and educational content. I get my personal enjoyment on YouTube. There you go. I agree. I am all for professional, helpful, useful, value-add content on LinkedIn, although I will say that I get a lot of that from YouTube as well. I've actually become, I don't know how you guys are with your podcasts, but I've been watching a lot more podcasts on YouTube lately. And some of them I actually do like literally sit on the couch and watch it like I'm watching a TV show. Stephen Bartlett, Diary of a CEO. Man, I love that podcast. I'll sit and watch that one. I've watched some Joe Rogan episodes. I've watched some Lewis Howes episodes, like literally just sit on the couch and watch them on YouTube. I still listen to them when I'm in the car or when I'm going for a walk or something like that. But I've actually been listening to more and more podcast content on YouTube as well. Yes, more puppy videos. It's funny. So look, here's insight into my process. With these Docushorts, I've been trying to think about things that I'm interested in because I believe that if you're sharing subject matter that you're interested in, you connect to the script in a different way. I think you connect to the script in a more personal way. I've also been trying to think strategically. If I was going to get hired for documentary or if I was going to get hired for a series, what kind of series would I want to be hired for? So I've done a lot of weather stuff because I'm an extreme weather nerd, for example. But a few weeks ago, I was thinking, okay, I really want one of these videos to pop. Like I need one of these videos to just really take off. And so I was thinking about it and and that's when it hit me. Puppies. Okay, puppies. Who doesn't love puppies? You literally have to be some kind of crazy sociopath to swipe past puppies. This is the conversation I'm having with myself. Actually, I was having this conversation with Jarvis as well. I could go back and show you the transcript, but I thought, okay, puppies it is. So I wanted to do something fun and informative because I still want to stick to a certain type of read, a certain type of style for these Docushorts, but I wanted it to be about puppies. And so Jarvis comes up with this idea for the kawaii effect, which is a Japanese phrase, and it literally talks about how puppies can rewire your brain for happiness. And I'm like, okay, this is really fun. Actually, it's kind of cool. A little bit of science behind it, but it's puppies, and I can find tons of cute stock video on puppies. So perfect, right? I'm not going to have any trouble editing this video. Actually, if anything, I had too many choices to pick from for puppies. But anyway, I'm like, okay, this is the video that's going to hit because nobody is going to swipe past puppies. Do you know what happened? I shared that video. It had an 83% swipe away rate. 83% swipe away rate. It went on YouTube and it went like this, and then it went and it died. It died in like 2 hours, and that was it. 83% swipe away rate. I'm like, who are these people on YouTube that are swiping away from puppies? Who are these psychos? So that has been, I thought it was going to be my best performing video, and it actually ended up being the worst performing video of everything that I have shared. And so I'm sure there's a lesson in there somewhere, but that's part of the fun in all of this is experimenting to try to figure out what are people interested in. But then going back to what I was talking about earlier, that puppy video on YouTube failed and failed hard. But that puppy video on LinkedIn right now has already massively outperformed the video on YouTube. And it's only been on LinkedIn for 3 hours. Crazy. Such is the fun of the internet and marketing. Always trying to find a new way. Always learning something new too. How do you film your Docushorts? Camera-wise, angles, etc. I've got a good working doc for batching videos with my 2 demo reels with me as the subject. Thanks. So I literally got a gooseneck tripod off of Amazon. Let me see if I can find it. Hang on. I got a gooseneck tripod off of Amazon that was it has like a clip on it. And so I clipped that tripod, phone holder, whatever you want to call it. I clipped that onto the mic arm in my booth. And so I literally just stand in my booth with the microphone mounted. I record through my studio into Adobe Audition while recording the video on the camera. And then I come into Adobe Premiere, and in Adobe Premiere, I mix together the video. I sync up the video from my phone with the audio from my studio setup, and then edit the video, and that's it. It's not super hard. I do the whole thing in Adobe Premiere. I cannot remember what the heck that phone mount was called. I think it might be this one. Nope, that's for a webcam. I don't remember where I got it from. I got it from Amazon. I don't remember what it's called. Sorry, I can't find it. Nope, it's none of those ones. Geez, I don't remember where I got it. I don't remember what it was. I got it a long time ago. But anyway, that's it. It's not anything super fancy. It's just my phone. I'm just recording on my phone and then mixing the audio and video together in Adobe Premiere. Who doesn't love puppies? Apparently a lot of people on YouTube don't love puppies. It's crazy. All right, what else is going on? YouTube has too many AI vids that lean on cute for quick views, and now it repulses people. And there you go. That could be it as well. I do know that you're supposed to, check the box if this is AI altered content, yes or no. And when you click no, it's supposed to help, but I'm sure not everybody's clicking no either. So this is interesting. I asked Perplexity to give me some recent stats on podcasting. Platform shares of weekly listeners: YouTube 31%, Spotify 27%, Apple Podcasts 15%. That's crazy that Apple's dropped off that far. Although with Spotify, like seriously, we have Apple Music. I have an Apple One subscription or whatever it's called, Apple Premiere. I don't even remember. The Apple subscription where you get all the things. Every kid in my house has a HomePod. Everybody's got the subscription to Apple Music. But my oldest, 17 years old, she refuses to use Apple Music. She subscribes to her own Spotify account. She literally pays for her own Spotify, despite the fact that she has a HomePod in her room with Apple Music on it. She went out and bought herself a separate Bluetooth speaker and streams Spotify from her phone to her separate Bluetooth. I'm like, what the heck? So clearly the Gen Zers, I guess, are digging the Spotify. What else do you guys want to talk about? Again, if you got a question that you would like to ask for Free Advice Friday, put it into the comments, type a Q beside it. I'm happy to answer as many questions as I can. Stick around until 2 o'clock Eastern, so don't be shy. Ask away if you've got a question. I wanted to mention this. I am teaching a new class next week. This is a class that everybody's been asking for, and so I finally decided to put it together. It's called the VOpreneur Inbox Playbook. Get in the inbox and out of spam. So this is going to be a 1-hour workshop. And in this 1-hour workshop, I am going to walk you through specific strategies for how to make sure your emails are landing in the inbox. So just to clarify, this is not a course where I'm going to teach you about writing emails. This is a course where I'm going to teach you the technical and specific and strategic things that you need to know to get into the actual inbox as opposed to landing in spam. And there are a lot of factors in this. There are a lot of things that go into making sure that you land in the inbox. I will be the first to tell you I am not a total subject matter expert on this, but I have been learning about it extensively, obviously, because I want to make sure that my marketing emails are landing in the actual inbox. So I'll put the link in the chat to that. If you are interested, I'm going to be teaching that live on Tuesday, 7 o'clock Eastern, 7 p.m. Eastern. It's going to happen live via Zoom. Anybody who signs up will get access to a video recording. This is another one of my low-cost, high-value workshops. So $47 if you sign up for the live. The price will go up to $97 after the live event. So if you're thinking about buying, buy it now. Get it for literally half the price, $47. This is going to be a good one. So I put the finishing touches on the class last night. I will do some run-throughs on the weekend just to see how I'm feeling about it and make sure that if there's anything else that I want to add or whatever. But Literally going to walk you through what it means for delivered versus deliverability. We're going to talk about email reputation and authentication. We're going to talk about a lot of the common mistakes that people are making in their emails that are potentially landing them in the spam folder. We're going to walk through some or best practices rather for keeping your delivery score high. And I'm also creating a couple of bonus resources as well. So you'll get a deliverability checklist and a guide that's curated tools that you can use to keep an eye on your score and monitor your email. So that is the VOpreneur Inbox Playbook, which is happening on Tuesday, 7 p.m. Eastern. The link is in the chat if you are interested in signing up for that one. All right, what else is going on? I've been working on doing some pro bono collaborations with friends for their socials by adding VO to their marketing and ads. What else can I do to get more visibility for my B2B in my local area? So in your local area, look for networking opportunities. Is there a small business association? Is there a chamber of commerce? Is there an entrepreneur, a group of entrepreneurs? Is there any kind of networking opportunities where you could go and have the opportunity to just hang out and meet some other business owners and shake some hands? I definitely think that's something that you can do. Building your social media presence, obviously there's always value in that. Working with your friends on some of their content, that works, but also creating some of your own content. I mean, that's what those Docushorts that I was just talking about, that's what I'm doing. I want to showcase my narration skills. I want to book documentary work and get into in-show narration. And so one of the ways that I am doing that is by creating these Docushorts and making my own content. So I think there's things like that. But then also it's reaching out to these companies directly, getting in touch with them directly and letting them know that you're there and letting them know that you're interested in working with them. Woo. What else you guys want to talk about? If I missed your question, I apologize. I'm not trying to miss any questions. If I did miss your question, feel free to type it again, and I will certainly come back to it. Tony, how's the weather? My birthday weekend, and it's raining again. It is. It's hot here today. It is hot. It's supposed to be hot all weekend. Like, I think tomorrow we're supposed, or maybe it's Sunday. Sunday we're supposed to get into the 90s. Which is not. I mean, it wouldn't be so bad, except that we literally went from like extreme cold to extreme heat. We don't get eased into it anymore. It's just like 1 minute you're shoveling your driveway, the next minute you're sweating your brains out. And that's Southern Ontario in a nutshell. What else you guys want to talk about? As a reminder, Voiceover Marketing Playbook is coming out again in a couple of weeks, July 8th through the 11th. Head over to voiceovermarketingplaybook.com and you can get on the wait list. When you are on the wait list, you will be notified of the release, and you will also be notified of an exclusive pre-sale offer. That pre-sale will happen July 7th. Huge bonus stuff that's going to be offered. The only way to know about it is to be on the wait list. So if you head to voiceovermarketingplaybook.com right now, you can download my new free guide. It's called 10 Marketing Habits of Top Booking VOs. So you get that for free, but you'll also get on the wait list so that you will be notified so that you can sign up for Playbook when it comes out here in a couple of weeks. What else is going on? The East Coast of the US and Canada are going to get super hot this weekend. Yeah, we just lit a match. Like, that's literally, we went from 0 to 100 in 2 seconds flat. It's pretty insane, actually. Tony says, are you going to One Voice in Dallas? I desperately want to be a part of One Voice in Dallas. I have asked for many years now to be a part of One Voice in Dallas, and I've just never been able to get in. I don't think that that's a conspiracy or anything like that. It's just never worked out. So one of these years, I would love to have the opportunity to come to One Voice Dallas, particularly because barbecue, obviously. I want to come to Dallas and get some good barbecue. I've never been. It's the one voiceover conference that I've never been to before. So I would really love to have the opportunity to see what it's like, hang out with everybody, teach some marketing. And then I can rent a car and drive to the Dr. Pepper Museum. So, cheers to Texas. So this year, yeah, I will not be going. Did not get the invite this year. We're actually going to be heading out on vacation on that weekend anyway. So maybe next year. Maybe next year I will finally get my chance to come to Dallas and eat some barbecue. What else is going on? Oregon is close to setting a record low high temp tomorrow. 58 for a high, first rain in 2 months. Man, I was in Seattle last month. Seattle and Vancouver. I did a week out on the West Coast there, and it was cloudy and gloomy and rainy every day, and it was just kind of depressing. And it was interesting because the week that I was away was the nicest week of weather that we had had in Southern Ontario in quite a while, and so I actually missed it. So I went out west so that I could get more cloudy, gloomy, rainy, which is what we had been getting in Southern Ontario up to that point. But still, fun to be out west. Seattle, beautiful city. Very expensive. Very expensive. Beautiful city. All right, guys, I got time to answer a couple of more questions. What would you like to ask? What can I help you with? If you have a question for Free Advice Friday, all you have to do is type it into the comments. If you put a Q beside it, it pops out on my screen. It makes it a little bit easier for me to find in the chat. But if there's anything that you want to talk about on the business and marketing side of things, that is what I am here for. I want to answer as many questions as I can in the time that we have together. There will not be a Free Advice Friday next week, just letting you know up front. No Free Advice Friday next week. Let me check my schedule. Actually, there will be no Free Advice Friday for the next 2 weeks. But I will be back on July 11th. So there should be Free Advice Friday on July 11th. So no Free Advice Friday for the next 2 weeks. But I will be back on July 11th. Okay. Not sure if this was touched on, but what about using Grammarly to fine-tune my email and then turning around and using my own language in the Grammarly email? Yeah, that's where I think AI comes in, okay? I am not anti-AI by any stretch of the imagination. I am not opposed to using the tools. I use ChatGPT, Jarvis every day. I use it to assist me, not to replace me. So using tools like Grammarly, Perplexity, Claude, ChatGPT, whatever, using it to help you flesh out your thoughts, help you brainstorm ideas, make suggestions for where an email could be tweaked or how an email could be improved, etc. That's all good. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think that it's just the most important thing is at the end of the day, what you are sending, is it you? Is it your words? Is it your voice? Is it your language? That's what matters at the end of the day. So use the tools, let them help you, let them make you better. Just don't make them your replacement. All right. Thank you, Mark. Really appreciate your generosity as always. Hey, I love doing this stuff. I love hanging out with you guys. I appreciate the fact that you come and spend an hour with me asking questions. Keeps me sharp, helps me get a better sense of what you guys are thinking about, what you're struggling with, what you're trying to figure out, because that helps me to be able to create better content, to add more value. Maybe it inspires a podcast episode, or it inspires a post, or inspires a newsletter that I send out or whatever. So I'm grateful to you guys for giving me time. Asking for a friend. Any advice for a Canadian trying to get work in the U.S.? He said a lot of talent agencies require proof that you can legally work in the U.S., but what's the easiest way to get that? So I have 2 different U.S. agents right now, and the vast majority of my work comes from the U.S. And I do not have to provide proof that I can legally work in the U.S. So, okay, let me preface this. I am not an immigration expert. I am not a lawyer. However, my understanding is that you would only need to be able to provide proof that you can legally work in the US if you are actually physically going to be in the US. So let's say that a company hires me to do their Discovery Channel finally calls, okay? Discovery Channel finally calls and says, Marc, you are freaking amazing. We've been watching your Docushorts. We happen to love puppies, and we want you to be the narrator on our newest series. And I say, well, Discovery Channel, nothing would make me happier. And they say, here's the catch. You have to be able to record in the United States. In that instance, where I would have to leave Canada, physically travel to the US, and record in a US studio on US soil, I would have to be able to legally work in the US at that point, in which case you would need a visa, a work visa, which I happen to have. So Discovery, I'm waiting. Call me up. However, if Discovery says, Marc, we think you're amazing. We can't wait to work with you. We want you to be the voice of our new series. We're going to get you to do this show. We're going to set up a series of Source Connect sessions. So I'm going to be recording in my studio in Canada. In that case, I do not have to be able to legally work in the US because I am actually working in Canada. I would have to provide them with W-8 Ben form. I am not an accountant, but I would provide them with the W-8 Ben form in place of the W-9, which they would otherwise ask for from an American citizen. So again, not an immigration expert, not a lawyer, not an accountant, but you should only have to provide proof that you can legally work in the US if you are being asked to physically come and record in the US. So on US soil. From my studio in Southern Ontario, I work for US clients all the time, and I have for decades, and it is not an issue. That's where I provide them with that different tax form. So work in the US means US soil, not just working for a US company remotely in Canada. That is technically what it means. Now, that being said, there are some agents that don't understand the process. And who else? Somebody just said it here. The requirements are usually in place because paymasters just don't want to step out of the usual process. And that is part of the process too, or problem too. There are certain pay structures that are set up, particularly on union stuff, where they don't understand how it works. And they don't want to create new systems and create new ways. And so they say that you have to be able to legally work in the US because that's how their system is built. But I have never encountered that in 20 some odd years of doing voiceover. I'm not going to say it doesn't exist. It does. I have just never encountered it in all my years of doing voiceover. The only thing that I have ever had to do was provide the W-8 BEN form. So when they ask you for a W-9, because more often than not, they will ask you for a W-9. That's the form that they ask for when they're working with a freelancer or whatever the term is that they use. In place of the W-8-9, as a Canadian, you would provide a W-8 Ben. I am not an immigration expert. I am not a lawyer. I am not an accountant. Okay. Is the reverse true? If I'm a US citizen who needs to go to Canadian studio, do I have to provide proof of ability to legally work in Canada? Great question. I would imagine so. I would imagine in that case, you would probably need some sort of work permit to come to Canada as well. That's the beauty of all of this, though, is with home studios and Source Connect, it kind of makes it all a moot point. And Liz makes a valid point here. On the other side, I work for Canadian clients from the US all the time, no problem. And that's it. So if you're recording, like from my studio in Southern Ontario, I record for US clients. I record for clients in South America. I record for clients in the Middle East. I record for clients in Europe. I've recorded for clients in Australia, New Zealand. Like I've literally recorded for clients all around the globe from my studio in Canada. I do not have to be able to legally work in any of those countries in order to be able to do that, because I'm working in my country. I'm just working for them. Now, if I had to get on a plane and fly to Germany to record for a client, that would be a different story, in which case I probably would need some sort of work permit or work visa. But my understanding is if you are recording from your home studio, then you can work for anyone, anywhere, pretty much. The only hiccup potentially would be tax implications, and those can vary from country to country. Consult with your accountant. Do-do. All right, what else is going on? Did I miss any questions? If I did, I apologize. I'm quickly scrolling back through right now to see if I missed anything. If I did, I apologize. And if I missed your question, feel free to type it again. Getting a visa, by the way, not fun. Not fun. It's not something that I would do just for the sake of it. It's something, if you're going to do it, I would say do it because the opportunities exist for you there and it makes sense for you to do it. Not cheap either. I mean, I got a visa a few years ago. I went through the process, and all in, it probably cost me about $6,000 to be able to do it. And I didn't even get it because of voiceover work, because I've never actually had to go and do voiceover work in the States. I was getting it because of doing all the conferences and coaching and stuff like that I was doing. And so I did not want there to be any issues with teaching classes and stuff like that. Hey, Mark, I'm thinking about putting out content not necessarily related to VO. Is that a good strategy? My thought is showing more well-rounded side and not just business. I think that there's nothing wrong with that strategy at all. I think building a brand, I think creating content, building a brand, and you never know who's going to see your content and whether or not that might be somebody who ultimately needs voiceover or knows somebody who needs voiceover. So I do not think that your content strategy needs to be exclusively voiceover. Do I think that there's value in making voiceover part of your content strategy? Absolutely. Do I think that your content needs to be exclusively voiceover? No, I do not. Hey, by the way, guys, if you've enjoyed Free Advice Friday today, would you do me a favor? Hit the like button and also hit the subscribe button, and you will get notified whenever I go live. Again, the next time that I will be able to do Free Advice Friday live, because I'm taking a couple of weeks off to do some vacation time with my family, July 11th, I have it on my calendar again. So mark that date down, but you'll also get notified if you are a subscriber to the channel. So make sure that you hit the subscribe button. Make sure that you hit the like button. All right, everyone, I got to go because I got to get ready for a coaching session coming up here in a little bit. The Free Advice Friday replay will be available on the YouTube channel, so you can go back and watch. If you joined in late, I will get chapter markers added as well, so that will take you directly to all of the different questions that were asked and answered on the show. So go back, watch it later, partake of all of the goodness that was included in Free Advice Friday. Okay, one more question. Your favorite calls to action and hooks for social content and captions? I don't know that I have a favorite as much as I just know it needs to be a really clear and obvious next step. Have a nice day is technically a call to action because you're calling someone to have a nice day, to take the action of having a nice day. Go to my website is a call to action. Go to my website and listen to my demos at marcscottvoiceover.com is a better call to action. It's a very clear and obvious next step. They don't have to think about it. It doesn't require any extra brain calories to figure out what we're talking about. It's a very clear and obvious call to action. And so I think if you're talking about calls to action, I think that's the trick, is it has to be a very clear and obvious next step. Like and subscribe. That's a clear call to action. Go to my LinkedIn and like my puppy video. That is a very clear call to action, and I'm hoping that all of you will take that call to action and go to LinkedIn. Go to my YouTube channel, my other YouTube channel, and like my video. That is a very clear call to action. So what is the next step that you want them to take? That's what makes a good, clear call to action. All right, everyone, I got to jump out. Thank you so much for joining me on Free Advice Friday. As always, I appreciate you hanging out. I appreciate all your questions. Hopefully you drew some value from it as well. And I will see you again on the 11th. Don't forget, in the meantime, the Everyday VOpreneur podcast, it goes up on the YouTube channel. It does go on Spotify as well, and Apple Podcasts, wherever fine podcasts are given away for free. As always, have fun, stay safe, and go find some leads.